In this video, we're going to learn how to set up the database table for our classroom project. So what we'll do is we'll make use of two database scripts. The first script will create a user, and the second script will set up our student tracker database. And in the following slides, I'll walk through each one of these scripts and show you how they work in detail. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our first script. It's basically going to create a new MySQL user for our application. The user is going to have a user ID of web student, and it'll also have a password of web student. All right, so let's go ahead and move into MySQL Workbench and run this script. So again, MySQL Workbench is basically just a GUI for managing or administering your MySQL database. Let's go ahead and connect to the database. I'll use my root account, and I'll use the same root password that I used when I installed the MySQL database. And I'll hit OK. And so at this point, I'm in MySQL Workbench. Now what I'll do is I'll actually open that file that we just discussed, the O1 create user. So I'll move up to the File menu, and I'll say File, Open SQL Script. And then I'll move over to where I extracted the file. So in my case, I have this folder called My Java Training, and then the extract of that JSP servlet Jdbc source code. There's a folder here called SQL Scripts. The one script that I'm looking for here is the O1 create user.sql. So again, this script basically creates a user. Here we have create user, web student, identified by web student. So we have the user ID and the password. So that'll actually create a MySQL user for us. And then on line 3, we simply grant privileges. So this allows the user to create more tables and create more sort procedures and so on. All right, so this looks good so far. So now to run this, I simply hit the little yellow lightning bolt here that'll execute this SQL script. At the bottom, we'll have the little green check marks, and that means, hey, everything's successful. We're happy. So at this point, we have our user created. So that looks good so far. Now, the next part here is making use of the O2 student tracker.sql. What this is going to do is it's going to actually create a new database table for us called student, and then it's going to load that database table with some sample data. So that's the main idea of this second script. All right, so let's go ahead and move back into SQL Workbench and let's run this script. So first I have to open the file. So I move back up to my file menu again, and I'll say File Open. Say Open SQL Script. And in that same directory, I'm going to look for that file O2 student tracker.sql. So our same SQL scripts directory there. All right, so that's the O2. So let's go ahead and click Open. All right, now, whoa, there's a lot of stuff in this file. Don't let this file overwhelm you. It's simply an output of a dump. But basically what we're going to do in this file is two main things. We're going to create a table called student with the various columns, and then we'll go through and we'll insert sample data. So a lot of other stuff that's out there, but the main items here, we create the table and then we insert sample data into that table. All right, so let's go ahead and run this one again. So again, we make use of that little yellow lightning bolt there on the toolbar. We click that button there, and that'll execute. And again, we'll see our little green check marks here at the bottom. So that means that, hey, this script executed successfully. Now, over on the left-hand side, we need to do a right click, and then we need to say refresh all. So this will basically refresh the list of schemas or tables, and we'll see our new item here. So there we go. Our web student tracker. So that's our database that we've created. And then inside of our database, we have a table called student, right? So there's our table right there. And this student table has 4 columns. It has a ID, first name, last name, and email. So that's good. And then we can actually query this table and look at the data by doing a right click and choosing select rows. So once we do this, then here, there's our sample data. So we added just 5 sample students here, Mary, John, AJ, Bill, and Maxwell. So this looks really good. So we have our test user created, we have our database table created, and we've loaded some sample data. So we're in really, really good shape now. And in the following videos, we'll make use of this database. So good job so far.